Okay, so I'm recording this session, and this is Warring Glimpse, and I'm going to talk today about. Uh, as you can see, my cursor right here on this page that I'll kind of wiggle. Seems like I lost my recording window. I'm not sure. Um, I'll assume it's still there. So I'm going to start the web station right here where my mouse is, the 21623 Geospatial Analytics. So I get to this page and I click this green bar under the 21623, and this gives us a view of the session today. So just as an overview on this, um, I'm going to, here's a kind of what we do. Uh, we develop and use tools and data to provide fact-based, independent, nonpartisan decision-making information to stakeholders. Focus on accessing, modeling, analyzing geographic, demographic, economic data. So our focus today. So I've got 4 points out here that are focus today, and I'm largely going to repeat this a week from today with some extensions and improvements. And the last item down here, 5, is on census tract demographic economic estimates and projections. And this is just kind of a heads up to say that that's going to be the focus of next Tuesday's session. Say again. So this is not a webinar in the sense that there's a slideshow, but I will show you as a slide deck on one of these links. And it is an informal, organized session. I hope I get through it in an organized way. And so again, this is the broad overreaching target is GIS and decision making. And I'll leave you to come back to this section if you like and review this PowerPoint, which talks about what GIS is. So this may be applicable to your particular situation, or it may not. So there's an introduction to GIS. So today I'm going to talk about item 2, using the Proximity 1 CVXE GIS, which is a Windows-based desktop geographic information system. And you can see 2 links here, which I don't intend to explore right now, but again, you can come back and use those links to find out more about that, about both this product and the user guide. And item 3, and I didn't say it at the beginning, again, I did say it's informal, but that's to the extent that I go pretty fast on talking about these topics, and I want to ensure that you're anytime you want, just interrupt and ask a question, or say, this is a topic of interest to me. Will you go into more detail about that? So that's informal. So I'm going to give a demonstration of using VDA, that's Visual Data Analytics, VDA WebGIS, accessing that tool with any browser, pretty much any device. And here also, learn more about VDA WebGIS here. I'm not going to go through that today. And here's kind of an introduction to how you can get started. And then finally, here's the link on how you start VDA. So my main focus today is on item 4, which is on congressional. It's actually on congressional districts, but it's also on congressional communities to some extent. I guess the reason I wrote it that way is the way I'm going to demonstrate this does involve congressional communities, which are a subgeography that we've developed that geography relating to the 118th congressional districts. So the maybe starting with congressional districts. This is the congressional districts main page, this link right here. So I will go here for just a moment to talk about this page and just to go through some navigation elements. So at the outset, just to say that the most recent elections determine the representatives for the 118th congressional districts that run from January 2023 through December 2024. And those reflect the redistricting process based on Census 2020. It remains that even though the boundaries that we're talking about here are those for which representatives were elected, there are about 10 states that do not have a truly final meaning approved either by whoever the particular state entity is that approves them. That could be, depending on the state, a commission, the governor, the legislature. So there are about 10 states that do not truly have final boundaries, but I don't know. We may just go forward with this never-ending, never to be resolved situation. Right now, we have here. If you click this view and expand your browser, I'm going to leave this one like it is for now. This shows you all of the 118th congressional districts. These are as defined by each of the states, provided to the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau then standardized those into a structure and created the national file. And the selected updates, those were released in early January. So also on this page we have an interactive table below, just again acclimating to this page. This contains a row for every 118th congressional district, and it contains Census 2020 demographics. So these demographics were developed by Proximity 1, and they are not yet available from the Census Bureau. So we developed these using a census block level equivalence file, equivalencing every census block to a congressional district. So you can examine here characteristics, for example, of the percent majority minority population and rank that. You can rank on any column total population just by clicking again, ascending, descending. And so you can scoot over, navigating this table, which I'm not going to spend much time on. You can read about it, come back to this page and read details below the table. You can look that we have here a distribution of race and origin and percentages. And we have a few items then on population 18 and over, same thing, same race, ethnicity. Group quarters, 3 items, and then 3 items for housing. That's all that were released of really primary interest from Census 2020 so far. So this scope of subject matter will be updated for congressional districts in May, and then it's not clear to me, it may be updated by the Census Bureau again in August. Not sure what the August release is going to include. So here's a way that you can look at your own district, or by looking at these tools here below the table, you can navigate to look at a particular district, like find CD here, Texas 18. You can do a query on the party, and you can look at specific groupings of the columns. And then we're still on the CD main page, so I navigate back up to the topic, and here was my point of reference again, so that was the interactive table. And then a separate data set, which has been released by the Census Bureau, is to examine the 119th congressional districts by the American Community Survey 2021 one-year estimates. So we've set this up I'm going to demonstrate this in just a moment. We've set this up so that you can view them in the VDA, Visual Data Analytics Web GIS, or one of our desktop GIS tools. So those data from American Community Survey are described here, summarily described. And they were released at the end of January, and here are 3 illustrative graphics and a corresponding description of the subject matter as an Excel file. The link is right below the visual description. So here, for example, it's not a greatly larger view, but a little bit. It shows percent majority minority, and here's the value of the percent associated with the color patterns. So those are just there for, so here's one on economic prosperity as measured by median household income. Not to dwell on the patterns, but you can see here it pops out at you where the lowest areas and the highest areas of economic prosperity based on that measure are located by CD. Housing value, so this is based on the median housing value by ranges, so you can see the ranges here in the legend again. And the fourth, so we have these organized into 4 types of data sets. This one is social characteristics, and it shows you patterns of percent high school graduates. So I'm now back to the main CD page, and I'll be covering this topic next week, the new voting age by race and ethnicity, the so-called CVAP data, which provide that data down to the census block group level. It's about 250,000 geographic areas covering the U.S. wall to wall. So I just talked about now that congressional districts page, and I also spoke briefly about the congressional district Census 2020 demographics interactive table. So you can come back and review those using this page. I'll leave this page up for at least through the next week, and then I'm now going to cover the get my schedule right here. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about another 15 minutes, and then we'll just talk openly about kind of QA. Again, though, I'd emphasize if there's a question, stop whenever you would like. So this link shows a rather extended page. I'll click on it to show you a rather extended page about the Congressional Communities GIS project, again, Geographic Information System project. And so here this page, the purpose of this page is really to show you how to use the Congressional Communities GIS project using one of the GIS tools that we have. Again, I'll cover that in a demo in a moment. So this shows one that I'll actually go to. I guess here's the page about VDA. So if you want to learn about, how to operate it, what's happening, what's new, then this would be the page you would go to. So now I'm going to start VDA WebGIS, and I'm going to show you how you get to this graphic. So this graphic shows the 118th congressional district with the highest majority minority population, and the graphic is from VDA WebGIS. So I'll just go over and I'll show this first, and then I'm going to come back and show you the desktop GIS and about doing a drill down analysis within a congressional district, looking at patterns of demographic economic characteristics by census tract within a congressional district, so you can see the lay of the land and the impact of gerrymandering and such. So again, I start VDA WebGIS. I prefer to start it from my home page and click on this link, Start VDA. So I log in. So if you had an account, you'd make your account using the VDA page. You'd log in here, and then you'd choose your project. In this case, in this situation, I'm going to choose the Congressional Communities project. So there's about a 5 to 8 second delay here. So this is a standard startup, and we start it with kind of a neutral view so that you really don't have a particular pattern. It's faster on the startup, and any particular user might have different interests. So you might be interested in putting in your address or the address of a location that you want to know more about a congressional district, where I've highlighted it there. So I'll put in one that's in the Scottsdale, Arizona area. So you can put in something as simple as a zip, or you can put in an exact address. and get a rooftop. So that zooms to the Scottsdale area, and if I click on that marker, which is in this case the centroid of zip code area, it shows me that congressional community. The startup here assumes that you're going to be looking at congressional communities. So that crosshatched area is a congressional community. And when I click on that blue marker, it also populates this lower left area with a profile. You can see here where I'm reviewing with a mouse. And you can look at that profile, which is hard to read in that format, as a structured display here. So this again is for that particular congressional community. That's in state 04 Arizona in congressional district 01 and congressional community 010. So I'm not really stopping here to go into the background on congressional communities. It's a subgeography of a congressional district. So here you see attributes, demographic attributes of CC, congressional community, based on C20. So it's based on Census 2020. So you can look at them numerically, and then following that, you have the corresponding CD118 Census 2020 data for the congressional district that contains that congressional community. And then scooting on down here, then you can see selected attributes for CD118 where my pointer is, based on the ACS 2021 one-year estimates. So if you're not familiar with that, that's an item that, again, either ask questions or we can go into at a later point in time. I also want to show you those same data can be shown as an organized profile. So I go to Tools, Profiles, Congressional Community Demographic Profile, and here you can see the congressional community attributes in these two columns. First, the stub telling you what the subject matter is, 2 columns for the congressional community, 2 columns for the corresponding congressional district, and you can see the distribution of the percentages, and you can see that the white non-Hispanic in this particular congressional community is substantially higher as a percent of total population than correspondingly in that 0401 congressional district. So you can see other patterns, other relationships. So again, the idea on the congressional community is to try to give a voice to exactly a congressional community. Sometimes you won't have a city or a place, like in this case. This is just a part of the area covered by Paradise Valley and Scottsdale in the Phoenix area. So we have those covering the entirety of the congressional district. So if I change my my active layer to congressional districts, I'm doing some things here that might not be obvious what I'm doing here. So I'm going to remove the cross-hatching here, and then I can zoom out with this kind of rubber band approach to on the map, and then I can click on congressional communities over here in the legend. Actually, I think I want to take that off, put this one on, and then I'll come down here in the legend panel. So I'm just, it's not a training session illustrating the use of this, so that now we can look at here at this area where my pointer is Congressional District 03, 119th Congressional 03, and it sets here. You can see the city of Phoenix where my pointer is. I could zoom in on that like so. So again, that's the boundary that we see with the black outline. And now if I want to look at the what is the nature of the distribution of median household, again, a measure of economic prosperity by census tract. So there it is. I could bold up the boundary here, but you can see the black boundary scooting around here where my pointer is, and you can see the area of lower red and orange, or higher, the blue and green. Economic prosperity is measured by median household income. So if I want to go for the table that I displayed in the so I'm going to go to show how to generate this graphic. Again, that graphic shows the highest majority minority population in the U.S. So I go back to here, and the first thing I want to do is perhaps I want to display the table, display the data and that I have associated with Congressional District 118 in a table. So I click the button, the Query Table button below the map, and the table splits what was the map window with a table showing the data that are available. So this has a wide array of data which I can determine the scope of subject matter by clicking that select field that tells these are the a similar set of items as to what we showed before for the congressional community, but this level right now is congressional district. So I'm going to take the state congressional district code. May as well take party, differentiate a little bit, and then here is my majority minority, and here is the total population. So I click set and close, and now I'm down just to these few items: party, percent majority minority, and the total population. So right now you can see where my pointer is down here in the lower left. That's all congressional districts. So if I want to, I'll put a query on this to first I'll sort it here by majority minority. So I type in MAGMIN, that's the name of the field, and I want to sort it in descending order across the US. So to do that, I just hit query, and there it is. So the one at the top is 93% majority minority, and it's California District 43. So if I want to see where that is, note that in my map up here is where I left it. We're in downtown Phoenix, if you will. So if I click the button down here at the bottom, click geography to display row, that's what it does. So you'll probably recognize that congressional district from the graphic that I've kind of lost track of now. Holding, as it says down here at the lower left, if I want to pan, I do a shift drag. So I hold a shift key down and drag this over, and now that display looks very much like this one, but it's been dynamically generated. So if
where's 49 on your map?
you mean it's 40, no, the UID is just a sequence number. I wish it weren't there. 49 on this is 43 right now. It's so that's that here's downtown Los Angeles. It's Downey. He, here's Long Beach where my pointer is right now, and here's the airport where my pointer is. LAX is right up here. So in order to look at the bigger picture, I can zoom out, and I can show it contextually in that manner. So if we only wanted to look at those in, is that good?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to look at only those which are in California, I believe a field name is STAB, state abbreviation, is equal to, and then I put the literal in, CA, like so. This is very nitpicky here on getting the details just right, so I'm going to look at only the congressional districts in California. Actually, I'll make it STCD 118, so I'll make it STCD 118 equal, oh, that's not going to work. Sorry about that. We'll go back to where it was. So that's all I want, and I'll leave leave it sorted in that fashion, majority, minority, descending, and then I'll do a query. So now we're looking at all congressional districts in California. Looking at the lower left down here, you see there are 52. So and they're ranked. So again, the top one's 43. So since these are independent of county. You don't really see, and look at that. Actually, one might intuit this. There's only one R in that group of roughly the top 10 or 11. So again, we could rank them on that, but not to do so. So if I want to take only those which are above 90, I'd proceed with my query here. And then I just hit query over here again. And there they are. Oops, there's only one. That's no good. So I'll make it, that's not right. Why is that? Majority, minority. Maybe it is right. I don't know. I'll change it to 80. Query. I guess it was right. So there are 15. You can see here at the lower left where my pointer is. There are 15 CDs that meet that criteria. Where are they, one might ask? 15 is a little bit too much, so I might want to make that a little bit narrower, and so I'll just make it 85. So now there are only 7-ish, 8. So now if I want to say where are those, then I can click this button over at the right below the table, highlight all that meet query, and there they are. So that's where concentrations of high majority minority population is by California CD. There might be others more broadly elsewhere in the state, so I can just go ahead and zoom out to take a look. So they're not. So they're all there.
That's cool to see them all highlighted at the same time.
Yeah, it is neat, isn't it? So since I have this congressional district CD118 in the top left drop down, I can click on any one of those and get a profile. So if I'm interested in this particular one, I click on it. The profile comes up here in the lower left, and the same thing that I showed before. I can go to Tools, go to Profiles, look at that profile of that particular CD. Why that's like that? Got me. Why would that be like that? It's populated down here. Oh, because that profile is for a congressional community. Sorry, I don't have a profile structure for a congressional district. So that's a congressional community profile. So it was not applicable. I hope that's clear. If it's not, we can discuss it. So if I look at this area, so let's say I drill down on that particular CD, and then maybe I'll click this button to remove the crosshatch, and then I'll switch over to congressional communities, and I can click that layer on, then congressional community right here. So this is where my pointer is one congressional community in that congressional district, which is 46. So if I click that congressional community, it highlights, here's the profile down here in the lower left, and I can go to Tools, Profiles, and there's the profile of that congressional community relative to that congressional district. So you can kind of see where we're headed with this. You can do geographic drill down within a congressional district, either by congressional community or by census tract. If you do it by census tract right now, you've got an extensive array of subject matter available to you. So I demonstrated one of them on median household income, but there are others that we can do. So I'm looking over here in the legend panel at the left, and so we could look at tracts by by percent majority minority. Of course, we know we're already in a dense area, percent majority minority, but if I zoom out, so again now the thematic pattern, the colorized patterns you're seeing are census tracts. So this is enabling us to look at the distribution of census tracts by majority minority in the context of, so it's the Tucson area. So it's easy to see where that distribution is. Or if you want to switch that and not be concerned with majority minority type analysis and look at educational attainment, we just switch to a different layer. So this gives you percent college graduates. And so I can navigate to some, is that a legitimate zip code? I think it is. So now we're in Texas. So there's Houston. There's where my centroid of that zip code is, so the blue marker. Our active layer is Congressional community. So if I switch that back to Congressional district, and I might click on that particular Congressional district, just some arbitrary district, I can view that as as an HTML profile. It looks like so. So this is at present. This one is only with Census 2020 data. Tells you the incumbent, the party, and then Census 2020 data. So one last thing to show, and that is here is so when I started VDA WebGIS, I opened the project Congressional Communities. So this is the Congressional Districts project, and this project will be one of the options to take on Monday. So this is not yet posted. So this is the desktop GIS that I'm showing here, and you can see the nature of the layers. We have a series of Congressional District layers where my pointer is on the left, and a series of tract level layers where my pointer is on the left. So the tract layers kind of mimic the same scope of subject matter as the depictions on by CD. So the one we've got open now is by median household income. So if I click on tracts median household income, so that's now covered up by the Congressional district. So the Congressional district layer is kind of as a pie, it's above it. So now I can click on the patterns. Patterns have been adjusted, not on all of these layers, but on some of them, because of the wide differences we see when we change the scope of geography. So if I uncheck CDs and I look at tracts, well, this reveals there's a lot of low economic prosperity in reservation area here on New Mexico and Arizona and Kentucky that are not revealed because when you look at them at the CD level, hence the power of GIS in looking at, I'm going to take Congressional communities off. Well, I can just look at it right there, same thing. So I can now see the CDs, a well-to-do Congressional district, well-educated, percent college graduate, and you can see then the areas of lower percent college graduate. So you can really see the distribution of the population in terms of its demographic attribute. Okay, I'm kind of done here. I actually shifted away from my GIS tools. Sorry about that. We were talking about this one. Points of discussion or conversation? See here, Mike.
But I guess it's good to be able to go back through it.
Yeah. mhm. So next week in this same session, I'll have the same scope of material, improved, I hope, a little bit in terms of presentation, and I'll bring in the citizens voting age population demographic, so we can look at this. This was the so-called Trump issue, where he wanted citizen voting age data collected by block. So the low level geography is by block group. That's the way it ended up. And from a statistical perspective, it would really be infeasible to get at the block level. But be that as it may, I intend to add another layer into what we're looking at here, which will be by block group. Again, the geography drill down is about 245,000 geographic areas. So we'll be able to look at the characteristics of the voting age population by race, ethnicity inside of either one congressional district or inside of one congressional community. So that'll be added for the upcoming session. Anything else today?